What is up, Rad Potential YouTube? Welcome to today's video. We are going to take the rotary truck to a little car meet up in Franklin, Tennessee. Memorial Day weekend. Hope you guys are enjoying the weekend with your family. Also, thank you to all the veterans, everybody who served the country. Mad appreciated for you guys do what you do so that we can do this. So let's get to ripping. Sorry, in the last video with the truck, I didn't put any driving footage. Not because it blows my camera mic out, but because it was just an early morning. So this is a hybrid engine. It's half-Bridgeported. It's got 12A irons, old school 13B housings. It's got a 4-port Holley. So when you take 12A stuff and you make a 13B out of it, you use old school 4-port intake manifolds. It's got a Holley 465 on it, half bridge. This is actually the irons that I took to Deals Gap a while back and blew the engine up and drove home on one rotor. So these irons have seen some stuff, they've been around, and we're keep using them. It also has Series 5 NA rotors and an RX8 rotating assembly. Other than that, so the E-shaft is from an RX8. It's the lightest one, I think. I don't remember, but the S5 NA rotors are the highest compression rotors outside of a RX8, so pretty amped. Alright guys, we're back at the Rad Ranch after the car meet. It got pretty dark, and honestly, it was a pretty good meet. Don't really know who put it on, but I'm sure you guys know who this... What are you doing, dog? There's probably a rabbit under there, and he's under there because you can't fit. Good luck. Anyways, car meet was cool. I saw it on, which y'all definitely know who this is, and controversial, whatever, but I follow Whistle and Diesel on Instagram. He shared the thing that there was going to be a meet, so I was like, okay, well, it's not really my crowd to hang out with those guys. Like just the go to car meets and do burnouts and that sort of thing, which I kind of figured that's who it was going to be, and it was. So I drove the rotary truck down there, and I hung out with, there was a guy there named Drew, who I've known for a while. He's got a really mint first gen. It's basically a stock 12A, just super nice car, drives it everywhere. So I parked with him, and then the cops that were there, apparently one or two of them live down here in Maury County, work with Franklin PD. So whenever I drove in the truck, they were just stoked about the truck. So I ended up hanging out with like the 4 police officers who were making sure that people weren't being too dumb. And they loved the truck and talked about the truck and all this stuff. So it was super cool. What do we have in store today? I'm getting crazy off track. Okay, so we're going to tear down this engine. But before we tear the engine down, I gotta make some edits to the trailer, okay? So, my dad, fortunately when I lived at home up in Indiana on the farm, we had a really nice trailer. It was an ag trailer, and I'd put a winch on it so that I could winch all my broken rotary cars on the trailer when I bought them, and then we could roll them off. Now, my trailer here is not a super expensive, super new, fancy trailer. I want to thank Charles for hooking me up with it. It's his old trailer. It's like 13 or 14 foot by 6. It's got a wood deck. Got it for free, basically. Unearthed it from its backyard. I went through and serviced all the bearings. It has trailer brakes, but I don't have them hooked up. We need to hook them up at some point. But for hauling stuff behind my little half-ton, that trailer works great. The RX8 barely fits. We're good. But the thing I lack on my trailer is a winch. So this is the Harbor Freight $150 four-wheeler winch. Trust me, you don't need anything more than a 3,500-pound winch. It's not like you're dragging a car... Bug on my ear. Dragging a car with 4 flat tires onto the trailer. I mean, it's not going to do that. But for moving a car that rolls decently, that's a good winch. So I've got that piece there that I need to get installed. And then here's one of my, just like, I don't know that it's a hack. I think everyone does this, but I'm going to do it again. So on Dad's trailer, I mounted the winch inside of his trailer toolbox. He has like a tongue-mounted toolbox, and I put it inside of that so it keeps the weather off the winch. I'm going to see if I can fit that winch into this little plastic box and just cut the hole out of the bottom of it and use this box temporarily until I can get a big toolbox to fit on the front of it. Big toolboxes are just expensive, and right now I'm buying tires and fixing stuff on the car so we can keep driving the car, and this one runs so I can drive it on there, and if the winch sits outside for a couple months, that's fine, but this will at least, I'll cut the bottom out of it, sit this on it, it'll be all right. 20 bucks. The other thing that I need to do, my trailer has, let me just grab the winch plate while we're doing this, while we're going to look at the trailer. So my trailer has a pretty worn out jack on it, and the jack has definitely been ripped off once and welded back on in a not ideal location. Okay, so here's the front of my trailer, the tongue. Right, typically your jack goes in right up here. Okay, where the 3 bolt holes are on the tongue there, which this should just fit. Boom. Typically, that's where your jack goes. Not back here. You can see this is pretty custom. So, we're going to be removing this jack, cutting that off, getting rid of that. I'm going to be mounting this jack on the trailer, because that's where it should be. This one's new, 5,000 pounds. It's got a nice handle on it. This handle kind of cuts your hand, not into it. So, we'll get that fixed up. I'm going to bolt it, and I'm going to weld it, because you're likely to hit this on stuff, and pretty easy to just grind it off and put a new one on there. So that's a win. And then we've got to figure out where to put our winch plate, which is this, because this little baby winch plate is going to hold the winch. So you'll notice if I like mount this right here, that the lead of the winch is going to go through the trailer. So I need to build a pedestal of sorts, which is why this has to go away, to sit this up here so that it clears the edge of the trailer. And no, this isn't really a car trailer. It's kind of just a trailer, a utility trailer. I modified the fender a couple weeks ago, or months ago, I guess. So that fender comes off so I can get cars off and on and climb out the door. But we need a winch, and that's where we're going to put it. Now, the other thing that I typically don't do with my winches is like install a battery in the toolbox next to the winch. What I tend to do, just because it's easier, more sustainable, you keep the battery charged. For the 6 times of a year or so that I need to operate my winch, I can take a battery from a car with me, jumper cable it to the winch, and make the winch work. I don't need to keep a battery in the trailer that runs the winch and have to keep that charged and da-da-da-da for like the 6 times a year that I use my winch. So the other hack is if you have like a jump box, you can just use a jump box to run the winch as well. So my winch is just going to be here. All the wiring will be jammed in that toolbox, and that's how this is going to roll. So I've got some square tubing up there, some leftover round tubing as well. We're going to build something here to hold the winch plate, mount the winch, put the toolbox on, get rid of that, move that, and we should be good to go. And then after I get all that done, we'll tear down that engine. So just wanted to, I know it's not rotary car content, but I figure a lot of y'all probably have trailers. The winch was 150 bucks. You don't have to buy a new jack for your trailer, but mine was just in the way, so I bought a new one. That was like 60 bucks. The toolbox was 20. So effectively, for 250 bucks, you can put a winch on your trailer. And I can tell you, I would pay a lot of money, a lot more times, to not have to push broken cars on the trailer, because pushing broken cars on the trailer sucks. And you need like a team of guys. And by the time you do that, you're going to end up spending that money you would have spent on a winch anyways. So let's get that winch installed. We'll get this motor torn down. Bada bing, bada boom. We got a winch now. So I made that bracket for it. Nice and sturdy, fresh coat of black paint. I don't think that's going anywhere. The winch is rated to 3,500 pounds. that bracket's rated to probably more than the winch. So how this works now, you've got these two leads, right? I usually just leave them just like this. There's no power in this box at all. So you take these two leads, you hook them up, power, ground, jumper cables to a truck, touch them to a battery, whatever needs to work. Then you grab your winch controller thing right here, in and out, and the winch works. Pulls in and out. So yes, you could put like a nice toolbox, like my dad's trailer has a nice toolbox with like metal and straps and stuff in it and all that, but for the sake of doing this on a budget for now, this right here is all we're gonna do. So my little nylon winch strap should be here. I think it's in the mailbox, but we'll do that. This can live right here. I know that this is gonna rattle around like that, so be it. But I don't think it'll break. If it does break, so be it. It was 20 bucks. At least for now, when the trailer is just sitting out in my field, the winch isn't just getting baked by the sun. So I got 2 more bolts and just need to tighten the winch down on the bottom, and this thing is ready to rock. So, and even then, could probably stiffen up that plastic toolbox just by putting a piece of sheet metal across the bottom that goes out to the corners. Just because it's only being supported by the winch plate. You see it right there? So, it is what it is. Better than nothing. With that, I'm going to clean up this mess. Get this engine on the stand. We'll tear this thing down. All right, my dudes, engine teardown complete, and honestly, this engine's in pretty good shape, except for one spot, and really just a couple other things to note as well. So, the amount of coolant passage corrosion in here is pretty excessive. It's just got like, I mean, you can see, just scoop this junk out of it. So, I don't know if somebody tried to run like some stop leak, or somebody tried to run something through here to help heal a radiator at some point. I don't know. Or if they're just running straight water. This is an excessive amount of corrosion and junk in the coolant passages. I mean, it's got like gel, algae growing in it, and like salt. So maybe they put salt water in it. I don't know. It looks super nasty. So the irons, rotors, mint. A couple stuck seals, which is probably why this one wasn't really, it came out of a running car. I don't know what car it was. I don't need to tell you who the engine's being built for, but it's going in an SSM, single turbo, Haltech, the whole deal, half bridge. It's going to be a great 400 some horsepower pump gas ripper. So that's what this engine's for. This engine was definitely OEM Mazda. This has never been rebuilt. If it's a reman, that'd be the only other way. It's got the OEM Mazda 3-piece apex seals. Generally, if you rebuild one of these engines, you don't put these back in. And you can tell, just by how short these are, that this engine's pretty tired. So I don't know how many miles are on it, but the nice thing is, aside from really the front stationary gear bearings a little bit wore out, the rear one's not too bad. I'll have to get the rotor bearings clean and look at those, but we may just do new bearings in this engine throughout, just to make sure everything's fresh, because that's what we want. So I'll have to see about having somebody push rotor bearings in for me, and then stationary gear bearings, I'll get those sent off to Ernie, and then he can push them in, push them out for me. So, Ernie, Failings Performance, I wear his hat all the time. The main issue that I've got with this engine right now, so I don't know if it's an issue. I'll talk to the owner about it. But this housing, the front housing, something went through here. I don't know if it was a piece of a turbo, but this is a really gnarly gouge right there. This is also another really gnarly gouge right on that edge. I mean, that's like a solid 2 mil deep, and then this is another really gnarly gouge right here. So it's weird though that it doesn't show any other excessive scratch marks around the rest of the rotor housing. I mean, it's like, it's not grooved, but you know, it's been ran, right? It's not new. The rear housing is pretty much perfect. I mean, a fresh resurface on that, and it's mint. But I think I'm probably going to recommend getting a new housing. It's really nice all the way around the engine. So here's what you would see, right? Say we run this housing. It's going to run perfectly fine, okay? It's not scored in any of the compression areas, so it's not going to show low compression, right? But with these big gouges and marks over here, what you're going to see is a potential to catch the apex seal on one of these, a potential to cause irregular wear of the apex seal. So because, yes, it's riding smooth for 85% of the way around, you're looking at this 10%, 10-20% where it's riding over effectively the Grand Canyon, and that's going to cause, over time, some weird wear on your apex seal. So that's really the only risk you run with it being on this exhaust side, right? There's, you know, everything that comes through over here doesn't matter. It's just sucking air in. It's not making compression over here. So, you know, is this housing usable? Yeah, 100%. We could resurface this, make sure that those edges are knocked down, and run it. But if you're wanting to build a bulletproof engine and make sure everything's perfect, then I probably wouldn't use it, you know. Or am I going to throw it away? No, we won't throw it away. But I'm going to recommend not using it in this engine. So, this housing, though, mint. And the other thing, too, y'all might think, and this is something else to note for you guys. If you don't have access to resurfacing a housing, okay, if you can't resurface it to score them so they're both the exact same wear pattern, right, or close to it, what you don't want to do, right, is take a housing like this with this much wear, right, and find a housing that's better or worse than it, but might be better than the other one, you know, not gouged, because then that is going to, you have two, it's like honing one cylinder and not honing the other cylinder. You have two housings that have different wear patterns on them, so your engine may make irregular compression, right? So we're going to resurface both of them. If we find a spare, resurface it, resurface this, they'll match. So just keep that in mind if you don't resurface your housings and you're building your own engine. Other than that, guys, irons look mint. No step wear, hardly at all. I don't see any parts where the coolant seals are busted out. There's a lot of just like these coolant seals are just cooked in here. So hopefully when I get those out of there, there's no excessive corrosion under the coolant seal. That could be the only other risk. This is definitely, I'm gonna put it, say it, guess it here, that this is definitely an original engine from an RX7. Never been rebuilt before. The first time it's ever been out. This is probably a 1993 engine. Just with how, especially how crusty some of the coolant stuff is, how hardened some of these coolant seals are, it's got to be an original engine. So this front iron, that seal is like baked in there, so hopefully I can get that out and there's not an excessive amount of corrosion in there. Otherwise, everything looks good, guys. I mean, this front rotor would be the only other place to see if there's anything really wrong, and I can see some dents in it here. You obviously see where the oil squirter's been dumping oil. That's why there's no carbon right here in the center on all these faces. So your oil squirter up here in your housing dumps oil in. That's why the carbon's wore off right here. But, you know, the front rotor's the one with the jacked up housing, and I don't see any excessive dents. Whatever it is that got in there didn't really tear up this rotor. There's a little score mark here and a little nick right here, but largely the groove is fine. And if it's not, if a new apex seal doesn't fit perfectly in there, then we'll file it so it does fit perfectly. You know, none of these corners are bent up, so I think that one should be good. The rear housing, like I said, looks perfect. So this engine's ready for a rebuild, and I'm pretty amped, honestly. I'm happy it all came apart. As you saw, I'd never had a dowel get stuck in the center iron. That dowel was stuck in the center iron. I had to lift the E-shaft, the center iron, with the dowel all out together, which kind of just made a, you know, whopper-jawed mess of things trying to get it apart, but largely came apart. You know, I've had to slide hammer dowels out before. That's not a big issue. I've had to slide hammer and pound E-shafts out from when they spun a bearing. So, you know, nothing really too new around here, but pretty hyped with how it came apart, guys. So hopefully you guys enjoyed that. Hopefully you all learned something. At least I, you know, was seeing this engine like this, kind of what I would use, what I would rebuild. We'll get this thing ran through the parts washer and get it all fresh and cleaned up. Fortunately, this engine's not getting painted crazy colors. It's going to be black and silver, which is the best color scheme ever. And really, I think it's a fresh set of bearings, a baby Half-Bridgeport, and a fresh set of seals away from being a really good engine. So I'm pretty excited to get this one put back together and get it back to the guys going to. And unfortunately, but fortunately for you guys, we're rebuilding this engine kind of on the side. It's not going to be a series of videos doing whatever. I'll probably do a video on porting it. We got REW Bridgeport templates. So we're just doing a half bridge, so we're only going to be using this port, and we're going to do the rad potential half bridge, which is only about that much of that bridge. So I don't like to do, and I say I don't like to do this as if I've built a bajillion engines like this, but in my head, right, and how I look at this stuff and do it, I don't want to do a huge Bridgeport on a turbo car. A turbo car doesn't need a big Bridgeport to make horsepower. All the Bridgeport's going to do is just cause you an extra headache of, will it break, right? Will a seal fall into the bridge? Will this, that, and the other? So the half Bridgeport that we're going to do to this engine, which you'll see in the next video, the porting video, is like a baby half Bridgeport. It's there to create a little bit of overlap so that you get that nice 1400 RPM aggressive little brap out of it. If you go, I'll link the video right here of Nick's S5T2 that we did this bridge on. It's enough to get just that little bit of brap out of it, but it doesn't sacrifice all of the drivability. You know, it doesn't ruin the car as far as a street car. It's kind of just like doing a stage 2 or 3 cam and an LS motor. You know, it's there, it gives you a little bit of power, it gives you that chop, but it doesn't ruin the car. You know, it's not like putting a big race cam in it and turning it up, wicking it up all the way. So with that, guys, that's going to be the end of this video. Drop any questions that you want to know about rebuilding an REW. I've done clearancing side seal videos. This one's going to get OEM everything aside from apex seals. So OEM oil control rings. And we'll just put it back together. So it's kind of a stock-ish rebuild, but not really. So with that, thank you guys very much for watching. The RX-8's doing its thing. And man, let me tell you, editing that video, maybe a short tangent. If you didn't go watch the RX-8 track video, go watch the RX-8 track video. Editing the track video, talking to my buddy Josh, 229, man, I'm driving slow. I thought I was going quick, and then I watched back a couple of Josh's videos with his Miata. And keep in mind, he is like a fully Champ Car spec track Miata, right? So fully gutted. It's probably 2,100 pounds. It's got a cage. It's got a big wing on it. It's got aero, a front splitter and everything. And he, in his how to drive an NCM video, which I've watched a bajillion times, I just never really paid attention to the lap time, ran a 2:18, 10 seconds faster than me. And I'm over here like, I'm watching his corner speed through turn 5 and turn 16. I'm like, dude, I'm going 5 miles an hour faster than him through those corners. Where am I losing all my time at? You know? And I'm running 10, 15 miles an hour faster on the straights. So I think I'm probably braking too much into a couple of those corners. I don't know. I'm excited for the year because I'm excited to go be a faster driver and really like use this car to hopefully, like I said, I want to run in the low to mid 220s. I think this car's got it in it, but dang, I just was like, I was so elated because I ran a 229, and then I went and like tried to learn and this, that, and the other, and saw other people driving it, and they were just with ease going below a 220, and I'm like, oh man, we got some learning to do. So driver mod inbound, before the next track day, just tires and brake pads, fix the oil leak, and we're going back to the track. So thank you guys very much for watching. I love that you guys are enjoying the content. At least I hope you guys are. And if you are, definitely hit that subscribe button. Go check out the other videos on the channel if you want to learn more about these engines, want to learn about making a sustainable RX-8 track car. Heck, even go back and check out the rally car that I built a year ago. So that's a cool video series to see that car like come and transform. And maybe one day I'll put together a build a rally car in 10 minutes video and build a little stew in 10 minutes video and whatever, if I decide to sit down and edit when I don't have stuff going on. So with that, guys, thanks for watching. We'll see you in the next one. Keep it rad. Let's find this dog. Come here. Do I need to learn how to drive a lot faster? Hey, do I need to learn how to drive? Am I still very much an amateur? Come on. Jump. Jump. You got to say yes to this. We need to go faster. I guess not. Maybe we are a good driver in the dog's eyes. Or she's distracted by wood. Okay. Peace, guys.